All right, and welcome back to the Afterthoughts podcast, the CNC podcast. Today, we are here to talk about the second boot of Prometheus, Tiki. Tiki, how you doing today, man?
Two triple shots.
Dude, that was like one of my little favorite moments of that first episode. And
Okay.
I had to get that in because that is part of who you are. It's part of your energy and your big personality.
So I've actually got a story about that right off the bat. It won't take long.
Sure, yeah.
So in that time space when I was working and everything, man, I was drinking so much coffee. I was pounding down so much caffeine. And as you know, I'm sure we'll get into this with the exit interview, but I literally didn't sleep the night before. Like you and I were kind of up chatting most of the night. So
yeah,
that two triple shots thing, I mean, I'm honestly happy to say that day, that recording day was the last day that I've actually drank any sort of coffee. I'll have like a soda from time to time, but I've cut out energy drinks. I've cut out coffee now. So it's like, honestly, I feel like it was kind of like a wake-up call of we'll get into it, but I kind of just feel like there's a lot of things where, if I had a good night's sleep the night before, if I wasn't super wired on caffeine, so it was kind of just like, okay, you kind of see it as like a quirky, and that's fun. I feel like that's one of the interesting things about reality TV, right? Is that like one of these really fun quotes. It's like, and by all means, I don't have anything against the quote. I think it's really fun. But to me, it's interesting because I just look at it and I'm just like, oh God, that's like me on hyper autism levels right there, So
assuming we're still talking about the two triple shots, right?
The two triple shots thing.
Okay,
yes, I'm
cool,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm kind of all over the place.
No, you're perfectly fine.
Yeah.
No, I absolutely loved that. I think that was a great little moment. It had, in the reality of it, it really doesn't have any relevance to the narrative. But part of what I've been trying to set up is I've been trying to set up, you guys, characters. Not that you guys are characters. You're real, real people.
No. I want to make this clear. Like I could have played as Tyler if I wanted to. Honestly, I feel like this is one of the things that hurt my game, but I was going in as Tiki, right? Like I feel like 100%. I know that Lauren was probably playing some stuff up too with how she was playing, I'm guessing. But for me, I was all in like, okay, I am going to be this persona. I am not going to be playing as Tyler James Linder. There's a reason why I don't even have a last name in the credits, right? So it's like, by all means, like I am a character in this season and I'm proud of it.
Yeah. I know you were also really worried about, being the second boot being, as you, I believe at one point put it, the Jacob of the season. But the thing is that while I think your personality definitely shows in these 3 episodes, it really shows. I think you've already made yourself one of the more standout, people of the cast. And unfortunately, because of the ending, I don't think between what we had in the beginning and what we had at the end, I don't think you're going to be a Jacob, because honestly, I barely remember Jacob, so I would not discount.
Here's the thing with the second boot thing. I do genuinely feel like it is the worst place to place in Survivor, because first boots do, there's like a precedent for first boots, right? It's kind of like a legacy club. And then I feel like any place beyond second boot, specifically if it's like you're the first boot on your tribe, but not the first boot overall, I feel like at least then you've got like some time to get your footing in the game. And honestly, that is the one thing that I was genuinely frustrated with. And I do want to get into my strong reaction to it. I want you to play therapist with me if you feel like it is, as far as like breaking down my reaction, because I do think it's kind of like it's kind of like a cool sociological thing to do, because as you can see, I'm totally zen now, but in the moment I was not. So
yeah. I definitely say it was not a reaction any of us were expecting, obviously. You can even actually see at one point during the episode, right at the start of it, Zach is laughing, but you could even tell that Zach did not realize that it was serious. I think he thought it was just kind of like this comedic bit.
Mhm.
And you can very quickly, if you like actually look at Zach's face, you can tell and see the shift in his face when he thought
I did notice that. Yeah.
To something serious.
Yeah.
And then for me personally, generally speaking, I'm pretty good at keeping a straight face. So I was trying to stay impartial and kind of just let things play out. So I mean, if you even watch me during that moment, I try and
it was intense, man. It was intense, you know. So
but obviously you and I talked quite a bit after that actual boot leading up to when you officially gave your your exit confessional or whatever you want to call it. So I mean, but yeah, so yeah, let's just get into it. I guess we'll start off with that because obviously we could look at that as like the highlight of the episode. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the reason I was so upset about it was I feel like it was just kind of like a big buildup of things. Like, obviously, I really feel like the lack of sleep was part of it. I also literally, like, as the second round was going down, I could kind of see my game going up in flames just because of all the technical problems I was having.
Wait, as the what was happening?
As the second round was going down. So, like, the second round of voting. So basically, like, you can speak to that a little bit. Like, you probably remember it more than I do. Like, I was so set to like be all in on these confessionals, and it went belly up.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only one that had technical issues. I'd probably say you were the one that had the worst technical issues of all the players.
And I was also probably, I'm guessing, one of the ones that was the most all in on actually like getting good professional confessionals. Not to say that anyone else's confessionals were. I'm genuinely enjoying everyone's confessionals, but yeah, I was all in on the confessional component.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like generally speaking, especially up to that point in time, I won't really speak about confessionals after the fact because the episodes have not aired yet. But yeah, you were definitely kind of I feel like you were going into it from this like entertainment standpoint, this broadcasting, and it's like, as you even said, you were kind of playing Tiki, so it was kind of like the more personality, the more entertainment side of it. Whereas I feel like most people were, and which is perfectly fine. If anything, it gives a better, it gives a clearer view of the actual narrative of the game. People were just trying to give off the facts while not trying to seem boring or game body. Whereas, like I said, you were like the opposite scale. Everyone else was not quite on the other side of the scale, but it's like, here's one end of the scale, here's the other, you're here, everyone's like here. So
I will say this, I have come to the conclusion that I do want to play an orc again, but I don't want to play as Tiki. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
like I just want to play as myself. I don't like, I feel like Tiki is kind of just like this this bottled up character of madness. And I feel like genuinely, if I played as myself without the component of like good mother effing TV, then I do think I could thrive. So
yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's it has not officially aired right yet, but I have had so many technical difficulties in the past week, and including trying to record the deep dive podcast. And it was something that we had talked about, where you played a good social game, and we could see the strategic side of you coming out. I mean, if you literally just watch that tribe life right before the temple, we can see the strategic side of you.
I threw something out. I knew that I knew that there was kind of like a 50-50 shot between me and Caitlin, because Caitlin didn't have the bonding time at the beginning, and then I was having the technical issues towards the end. So I knew it was kind of like a 50-50 shot between us at that point.
Yeah. Now, my initial thing too was, and you'll probably see it on the other podcast as well, is that if you guys had lost the first challenge as opposed to the second challenge,
yes,
I would have thought that you would not have gone home. The only person that might have made a strong case to push you over Caitlin, I think, would have been Zach. And because I believe it's in the episode, but
he's just infamous for aligning with women.
Exactly. Yeah, he's infamous for aligning with women. There's also another thing where a lot of people, and I think Zach kind of falls into this category as well, he does not like to vote women. Well, I don't think he likes to vote women out, period, but he does definitely not like to vote women out first.
Yeah, I noticed that. And like, honestly, that's like a totally cool, like, I totally support that within the community.
Yeah.
Not going to say it didn't screw me, because it kind of did. But having said that, I'm familiar. I don't want to say I'm like good friends with the women on my tribe, but I think they're all awesome people. And I am stoked to see how that alliance shapes up. I think it's a kick-ass alliance. So, at the end of the day, look, that is kind of like one of the things that really puts me at ease, is the fact that Zach is very skilled at getting in with the women, and especially with Kara with the New York connection, and then him and Sam are both, some of the younger people. So those were two really easy connections for him to make. David, I'm very curious to see where David's narrative goes going forward, but at least for that first challenge, he had the out of, hey, yo, I'm getting my haircut. At the end of the day, there was nothing I could do, and that honestly, that puts me at peace. So
yeah, I mean, I think, and I won't get into it too much, because I mean, the game is over at this point. It is what it is. But I honestly think your best bet would have been going on the other tribe.
I totally 1000% agree.
Yeah, but
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, of course. Let me say this, and then I'll give you the floor, because ultimately this is your time to speak. But
sure.
I think with these games in general, whether it's normal reality competitions you watch on network television, or even what we play and the whole community plays, there is so much luck involved that I really think people often forget how much luck is involved. You could be the best player in the world, but if you really you don't have luck on your side, and you get swap fucked, or you get this, that, or the other, you're not winning the game. I mean, let's just talk about Survivor for like 2 seconds.
Sure.
I think of all the people, at least that I can think of in 40 seasons now, the only person that really actually addresses it, especially in a final tribal, is Tyson. Tyson's like, I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of like, you got to be an idiot if you don't think luck has a lot to do with it. Because it's true.
Totally.
Luck has a lot to do with it. So I mean, that's what I'll say. I'll give you.
Lauren picked me for my tribe, and honestly, like, no disrespect to anyone else on my tribe, I think they're all awesome people. I couldn't see the instant social connections with them the same way that I could with the other people. And honestly, if there's one regret with the way that I played Camp Life, I really should have messaged at least Lauren right off the bat, been like, yo, I dig your energy. Thanks for picking me. Let's do something. Let's build something here. I do regret doing that. The only reason that didn't happen is because I was having the technical issues. I do genuinely wonder how things would have gone down if me and Lauren could have potentially been, in a sidestep with each other. But can I just break down that other tribe? Because I genuinely think that I could have had... Go down them, please. Go down each and every one of them, and I can tell you why I would have done better with them. Really quick, we'll just play this exercise.
Sure. We have Andrew first.
Okay, Andrew, I made a really good connection with. Honestly, I get why it didn't make the edit, because it was kind of a, it wasn't really relevant to the story. But I remember me and him having a really fun conversation about heroes versus villains and why I think it's kind of overrated. And so I think we had a banter going on. We're both podcast hosts. I think that would have been a pretty easy connection to make.
Yeah. Which I will say on that note, with you and Andrew in the during the dawning, when you guys were in your room, you guys had a 20-minute Survivor conversation.
Totally,
I mean, that's
totally.
And I mean, obviously there were other people talking too about Survivor, but essentially all that pretty much happened in that room was 20 minutes of Survivor talk.
Right. And honestly, I'm sure there's a lot of Survivor talk that you had to edit out. So
of course, yeah. I mean, in the reality of it, it's not the most entertaining, and it's not the most
if Andrew and I would have, if I would have lasted and Andrew and I would have gone together, I'm sure some of it would have made it, but I get it. Yeah. No worries.
So yeah, I mean, I think Andrew could have potentially been your strongest connection if you were on the Primordials tribe. So the next person we have is Anna.
Anna, she's probably one of the ones I just honestly, just because I'm kind of like a shy, awkwarded, introverted male, I have a harder time connecting with females just in general. I do feel like Anna and I have very similar senses of humor, though, so that could have been a good connection to make.
Okay.
Definitely probably one of the ones that's a little bit more challenging, and I do think that she's kind of like on a similar wavelength to me as far as the strategy goes.
Okay. Next up is CJ.
CJ I would have put under my wing. That's what I would have done with CJ. I would have been like, bro, like, you know, like let's do something, let's make something, you know, because I honestly with this kind of game, even with my Imagineering games that I do, I like to pick the underdogs and kind of boost them up. So that's probably what I would have like engaged with CJ. I would have saw that he was in his shell and tried to get him out of his shell.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of already been said before too, but CJ was super hungover. He was super tired. He was really hot because I think he was in his basement or something like that. I can't quite remember, but I think CJ, no matter what happened, if they would have still lost first round and you were on that tribe, or second round, he would have been the first boot, and he would have just been okay, well, it's fine, first boot.
Yeah, totally,
you know, totally.
I'm just saying that, you know, there's still a connection I could have made with him on some level.
Of course. Next up, we have Colin.
Colin. Yeah, he's another one. I think our senses of humor would have meshed. I don't know much about him. I didn't really interact with him. I don't have much to say, but I think our senses of humor would have meshed. Potentially a good strategist ally. Okay. I do think he is, you know, I genuinely know nothing going forward. So as far as I know, he is like maybe one of 5 people I have on my radar to potentially win at this point, just based on the edit.
Okay. Next up, we have Joe.
Okay. Joe and Kyle. I want to highlight these 2 people. It would have been my ideal final 3, honestly, because Joe, I feel like, is someone that I just socially, he reminds me of so many other people that I know and just people in my Imagineering community. And I just feel like me and him really would have hit it off. Kyle, I also feel like I would have hit it off with him because of the West Coast thing, the fact that we both have a similar sense of humor. We're both YouTubers. Joe and Kyle, man, I like, honestly, during the dawning, I you know, I didn't really interact with either of them much, but I was drawn to both of them just because Joe is a character where you pretty much know what you're getting from him right away. So I'm like, oh, yes, I want him. And then Kyle, like I said, you saw in the dawning of the episode, we had that brief sort of interaction with the West Coast thing. Very much would have been right away like, yo, West Coast, let's go, you know, so.
Yeah, definitely. And then the last person alphabetically we have is Mara.
Mara, yeah, okay. So here's the thing. My whole life, I've always, you know, I think Mara is such a sweetheart. I think me and her would have gotten along really well. My whole life, I've always kind of gotten better with people like either a little bit younger than me or a little bit older than me. I struggle with people in my own demographic just because, like, you know, I feel like I have like kind of like a heightened wisdom that my own demographic doesn't have, but I also have like less maturity than my own demographic, if that makes sense. I'm just like this weird, I'm just like this weird Gandalf man-child. I don't know. I'm owning it at this point. But yeah, Mara, I feel like the final 4 in that tribe, if I was on that tribe, I could have easily done Mara, me, Joe, Kyle. I would have locked it in. I don't want to spend all day talking about what ifs, but you get my point. I think that tribe would have been way more up my alley.
Okay. So yeah, let's just kind of really rush into it.
Sure. So, I'm sorry I took so long.
Oh, no, you're perfectly fine. Like I said, ultimately it's your chance to talk about whatever you want. So there's 2 things that I really want to talk about. And we kind of already touched upon the first thing, but I really want to go into it. Sure. So I want to talk about your just overall experience and the ending. Like everything you're feeling about that, both well, let's talk about in that moment. So what was your overall experience? We talked about the technical side.
Yeah. In the moment, I mean, it was, here's the thing, Casey, like, you know, that I was obviously very heightened with the 2 triple shots and, you know, the lack of sleep and everything. So I just feel like even in my best state, technically, if it would have gone down that way, I still probably would have had I don't know. I was not in a good mental, emotional place to be playing a game like that. It was going way too quickly. I like genuinely, I do think that the messaging system, I don't want to like cast shade on it at all. I'm not trying to do that, but I do think that it happened very quick. Like, oh shit, like I really should have messaged people like right away, but instead I was doing these confessionals. And honestly, bravo to people like David, dude. David must have been on Messenger and doing confessionals and rocking the camp life. I mean, while getting a haircut, I give that dude a lot of credit. Just, I'm sure he probably was a headache production wise with him, being out and going all those places. I just give him a lot of credit for multitasking. I could never multitask like that. But ultimately, I think the multitasking is what hurt me. And if I do play another game, which I want to, I'd like to play a more long form one. So as far as my reaction goes, I really do. It's funny because one of the big things I hit on with my interview is I don't want to take this stuff personally. Last time I played, I got to the final 3. People kind of blasted me at the final 3. And even though I got a couple votes, I got a little too personal with the people I was up against. Like, hey, why are you firing shots against me? It's not like it's a final 3 and that's what you're supposed to do in the game. Honestly, I don't think I would have ever pulled that if I would have made a final 3 because it is the game. But genuinely what upset me was that I feel like I was doing my best to try and fit in socially and I couldn't. I just feel like watching the episode, like that's how I was feeling in the moment. I was just like, the thing that really does make the edit that I really do regret, I don't want you to edit it out or anything, but I do, like, when I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's why some people just, when they see me like that, they just want to distance themselves from me is, when I'm, at the very end, when I'm just very dramatically just like, no, it's unanimous, guys. I got 7 votes. I suck. Hang up. Like that's a shit look, man. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that I genuinely apologize. That was rude. That was unprofessional. I don't care how I don't deserve a free ride just because of, any sort of conditions I might have. I'm human like everyone else. CJ got voted out, no problem, with a unanimous amount of votes. At this point, there's no reason to expect that the votes are going to be split. Like, I knew it was going to be either me or Caitlin. I knew it was going to be a 50-50 shot. I took my chance. I do regret taking it personally. More importantly, I do very much regret dragging it into the group chat, especially. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go too far into this, but
yeah, of course.
Last week when I saw the episode, it's funny because isn't it funny, Casey, how that works out? Where the episode that I didn't even get voted out, where I kind of shined the most with the 2 triple shots thing, is the episode that I had the worst reaction to, because all I was thinking was like, oh God, I'm gonna get voted out next, and my lighting is crap. And oh God, and we had that one thing where it's like, I think it's funny in retrospect. I can totally laugh about it, but the super cringe thing of like, yeah, I really should have turned off my microphone for that one challenge. Yeah, that was definitely a mistake on my end. So it was just kind of like seeing all those mistakes. Like, I don't worry about it. It's totally fine. I honestly think it's a funny mistake, but and I mean, man, I was harsh with the group chat. Guys, I want to just say genuinely, if I personally offended anyone in the cast, just come to me. I want to have a genuine conversation with any of you that, felt uncomfortable with anything that I've said. I am such a genuine person. I hope I'm coming across that way as far as like, I struggle to make connections, but I am super loyal to the connections that I do make. So yeah. So at the end of the day, I'm fine with it being in the show because it's part of the narrative. It's what happened. I don't want you to treat me with kid gloves with that. And I said this in the group chat, but my hope is that it's an, oh crap, this is getting real type of moment in the narrative. Like, my hope is that, like, okay, like, now that the fun guy who wasn't even really in it to strategize, who was just in it to be people's friends, now that he's out, okay, like, we can't trust anyone now. That's what I'm hoping from the narrative. I'm hoping that my narrative kind of sets a precedent.
I'd say there's definitely a shift in tone, but I really won't say much more because obviously,
of course,
rest of the episodes haven't aired.
Sure.
But Yeah, I mean, I think that's all very much fair. And I mean, obviously, just for anyone who is listening, who well, actually, no one really knows this except for production and you, but like we had talked about this. This originally speaking was I said was not going to be in it, but then you told me you did want it in it. Well, that's the thing. We're all human beings. It's just a game. It's not that serious. This is not, CBS, where they're not really going to cut content. So, I mean, yeah, we talked about it. And you're the one that said to put it in. We're all human. We all have insecurities. We all,
like I said,
have,
it's more the stuff in the group chat that I regret. Having it in the narrative is totally fine. I feel like it makes me a more real, well-rounded character that I can go from 2 triple shots to that, so.
Absolutely. So I guess winding things down, do you have any final thoughts? Did you want to speak on what you think of your edit? I mean, you kind of touched upon a little bit of everything, but yeah, pretty much. Do you have any
I think you did as good of a
things?
job with my edit as you possibly could have. You included every confessional that I sent you. I didn't give you much to work with. I'm very happy with the edit.
All right.
Can I speak about okay, so I want to address something kind of serious. You're watching Big Brother, I know.
I am behind right now. So
okay, well, that's okay because I'm behind too. I won't give you any spoilers, but I watched the first couple episodes. You can guess what cast member stood out to me.
I'm going to assume Brittany.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just use this opportunity as consider this my soapbox. People, I might get teary-eyed here. Brittany, she represents everything that I want to be as far as just putting yourself out there, and honestly, there's so much hate on social media. Things haven't changed, Casey. I mean, it's I feel like I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I went on to Survivor Sucks specifically, which I know that's a toxic place to go, but genuinely speaking, I feel it's just the things that people are saying about her just before she even entered the game. I just really thought that we as a society were past this. And so, man, it just makes me want to do this kind of stuff more just because I really, even if I am a heightened person, even if I am an over the top person, I am who I am and I don't want to be anything else. And it's taken me a long time to realize that, when I was in my 20s, I was not happy with who I am. But honestly, coming into my 30s, I really do feel like there's no way, I've got this freaking Stitch tattoo on my, Disney is literally engraved in me, it's I this is who I am. I've got my podcast that I've been working on for a long time and I'm continuing to plug away on it. I'm not making a lot of money on it, but I'm making a drop in the pot. And man, I want to just be so much more. And I want to just prove to people that I know it just frustrates me, man. It just frustrates me that there's still a stigma against autistic people all these years later, that someone like Brittany can come on and even just her being announced in the cast is going to elicit idiots to be oh, what the hell is she doing on here? She's just I don't want to repeat the words, but it really, really frustrates me. And I don't know how Brittany's doing in this game. I only watched the first couple episodes. For all I know, she's a total train wreck. But even if she is a train wreck, that should just instantly oh, it's because of the autism. I mean, like you said, it's all to do with luck and stuff. I heard that she aligned with Frenchie, which is not a good look. And that's, that's probably just a bad judgment call more than anything else. I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, Casey, but I wanted to touch on the autism thing somewhere.
Absolutely.
And, I don't necessarily think my exit was a great look as far as that goes, but I do think it was a very genuine, like you said, for someone like Zach, who was very much playing up the, kind of I don't think Zach would take offense to this. He's sort of playing the I'm a douchebag and I know it in the edit in his confessionals, It's I don't think he'd take offense to me saying that. But for someone like him to be, kind of humanized in that moment, and I will say, Zach, for all his bravado, he was the first person to reach out to me after the game and, give his sincere apologies. So, Zach and I come from totally different tribes. We probably wouldn't hang out with each other in real life, but I do give that kid respect just as far as he kind of reminds me of a mirror image of myself as far as he was kind of playing the villain, but in reality, I think he's a pretty good guy. So,
yeah. And I think and once again, oftentimes we look at these people as if they're characters, but everyone's human. And sometimes people do play characters. But yeah, I completely get what you're saying. And also, I mean, in reference to the Britney thing, I think people just like to troll. It gives them some sort
get
of
that. It just frustrates me that, it's to me, it's when I see that, then it kind of makes me realize, what other people are facing with other slurs and other insults. And I guess it kind of just, everyone's facing something. Everyone's facing some sort of discrimination, right? So,
absolutely,
the R word for me is other words for other people, so
yeah,
that's what it comes down to.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, if you don't have any other final thoughts, we'll conclude.
YouTube.com/so you want to be an Imagineer, baby.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, on that note, we are finished with the Afterthoughts podcast. Thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you, Tiki, for coming on. Obviously, I told all the cast members they're under no obligation to do this, so I do appreciate it. And on that note, everyone have a good night.